All right, buckle up, everyone, because today on the deep dive, we're diving headfirst into the world of art directors.
Specifically, we're going to help you nail that upcoming interview.
Yeah, using the awesome resources from RoleCatcher, we're crafting a game plan so you can walk into that interview room totally prepped.
Exactly.
You know, it's always struck me how art directors need that killer combo of creativity and leadership. It's not just about whipping up a cool design, it's about leading a team to create a whole visual world. Like imagine you're building the look of a video game, or even a whole brand identity.
It's a huge responsibility, and that's where RoleCatcher's insights come in. We'll be using their art director career guide, their interview guide, and even their super cool AI to give you a personalized edge.
Oh yeah, that AI is seriously mind-blowing. But first, let's paint the picture of what being an art director is actually like. The career guide points out that they're needed pretty much everywhere. Theater, marketing, video games, you name it.
It's true. The demand is out there, especially with certain industries like gaming just exploding in popularity right now.
And that means a huge need for talented art directors who can build those immersive, visually stunning experiences.
Right, and that demand actually shows up in the job outlook too. The guide mentions a steady 2% growth, which might not sound like much, but
But in the creative world, that's actually pretty darn stable.
exactly. It's not just about landing the job, it's about entering a field with a future.
So you're not constantly jumping from gig to gig, wondering what's next.
Right.
But of course, no job is perfect. The guide doesn't shy away from the tougher side of things either, like the long hours, tight deadlines, and sometimes, well, demanding clients.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. You need that artistic passion, for sure, but also a good dose of resilience.
Being able to motivate your team even when the pressure's on. And speaking of a helping hand, maybe this is a good time to mention how RoleCatcher's AI can give you a leg up in all of this.
Oh, for sure. This AI is seriously like magic. It analyzes job descriptions to figure out exactly which skills you should be highlighting in your application.
It's wild, right? It's like having a personal assistant who knows the hiring game inside and out.
Especially these days, where algorithms are often the ones making those first cuts, RoleCatcher's AI helps you speak their language.
Think of it like translating your creative brilliance into data points that those systems actually understand.
And that even goes for getting feedback on your interview answers, which can make all the difference.
Okay, enough tech talk for now. Let's dive into what you're really here for, those interview questions that make or break it. We've combed through RoleCatcher's interview guide and picked out the ones that are most likely to trip people up and the ones that'll really give you a chance to shine.
We'll break down each question, figure out what they're actually looking for, and give you some killer strategies to craft answers that impress.
Sounds good. All right, let's kick things off with a classic. How do you stay current with design trends and technology? Sounds simple enough, but what's the hidden meaning here?
They're really trying to see if you're a lifelong learner, someone who's passionate about design and is constantly soaking up new knowledge.
Because, let's be real, the design world changes like, what, every 5 minutes?
Pretty much. So you got to show them you're not just keeping up, you're pushing those boundaries.
So a casual, oh, I scroll through Instagram, probably won't cut it.
Probably not. Instead, get specific. What design blogs do you follow? Any publications you're obsessed with? Maybe online communities you're part of?
Oh, and mentioning specific trends that are shaking things up is huge, too.
Exactly. Like, how is AI changing the design game? What about the move towards sustainability and ethical design practices? Mentioning those kinds of things shows you're engaged in the bigger conversations happening in the industry.
It proves you're not just chasing the latest fad. You're thinking about the future of design. And I bet they might even hit you with a follow-up question like, what's a recent design trend that you're particularly excited about and why?
Perfect chance to show you're not just name-dropping, but you actually get it. You know, the real implications of those trends.
Maybe you've even been experimenting with a new tool or technique you could talk about. It's all about showing your passion and your forward-thinking mindset.
Exactly.
Okay, question number 2. Walk me through your design process. Again, seems pretty straightforward, but what are they really digging for here?
This one's a triple whammy. They want to see your problem-solving skills, how organized you are, and your ability to communicate clearly.
So it's not just about listing off the steps, it's about revealing the way your brain works.
You got it. Take them on a journey through a specific project from start to finish. What challenges did you face? What decisions did you make? What did you learn along the way? Don't just say, I research, then I sketch, then I design.
Make it a story.
Yeah.
Right. And the interview guide also suggests really playing up that collaborative approach.
Hmm.
Talk about how you get feedback from clients and colleagues.
It shows you're a team player, not just a lone wolf designer, off doing your own thing.
And don't be afraid to sprinkle in some industry lingo, too. Mention things like user research or wireframing. Shows you know the talk.
Oh, and be ready for a curveball. They might ask something like, how do you adapt your process when unexpected challenges pop up or the project scope suddenly changes?
Ah, the joys of creative work, right. Nothing ever goes exactly according to plan.
Exactly. It's all about showing you can think on your feet and roll with those punches. I actually remember this one time.
Okay, let's save this story time for later. We got more questions to conquer. And this next one can be a bit of a minefield. How do you handle creative differences with clients or team members?
Ah, yes, the dreaded conflict question. Everyone wants to know how you deal with disagreements.
Because let's face it, those happen on every project.
The key here is diplomacy. You got to show them you can handle those disagreements professionally without turning into a pushover or a dictator.
So instead of saying, I usually just do it my way, maybe try something like,
I really believe in open communication. I'd start by trying to understand their perspective, then explain my reasoning, and hopefully we can find a compromise that works for everyone.
that's good. It shows you respect other people's opinions, but you're not afraid to stand up for your design choices either.
Exactly. And be prepared for them to dig deeper. They might ask for a specific example of a time you successfully resolved a creative conflict.
That's where having a go-to story in your back pocket can be a lifesaver. Think of the time you navigated a tricky situation with a client or a colleague, and have that anecdote ready to go.
Great advice.
All right, ready for question number 4. This one's less of a question and more of a chance to showcase your skills. It's the classic. Can you show me your portfolio and walk me through your favorite project?
It's your time to shine. But remember, it's not just about showing off pretty pictures.
It's about telling the story behind the design.
Exactly. Choose a project you're genuinely proud of, something that aligns with the job description, and practice walking them through it. Highlight those challenges you overcame, the decisions you made, the impact the project had.
The guide also mentions tailoring your presentation to the specific company. So if you're interviewing at, say, a gaming studio, maybe pick a project that shows off your character design or world-building skills.
And be ready for them to ask, what are you most proud of in this project, and why?
Ooh, good one. That's your chance to reveal what really motivates you as a designer, what parts of the work light you up.
Exactly. It gives them a glimpse into your creative values, what makes you tick.
All right, ready to tackle question number 5.
Absolutely. Let's dive in. All right, this one tests your versatility. How do you approach designing for different mediums, like print versus digital? It's all about showing you can adapt, tailor your skills to any platform.
Yeah, because a great art director needs to speak the language of design no matter what the canvas is, right? Whether it's a poster, a website, a mobile app.
Exactly. They want to know you understand those nuances, how to adjust your approach for each one.
So instead of just listing off software you use, you got to dig into those differences.
Right. Like with print, you might talk about typography, color theory, even the paper stock.
While digital's all about user interface, user experience, making sure your design works on any device.
Right. Having a portfolio that shows off your skills across those mediums is a huge EE plus.
Proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Exactly. And be ready for a follow-up question like, what are some key things you consider when you're designing for mobile?
Smart question, because mobile-first design is so crucial these days.
It really is. If you can explain your approach to designing for those tiny screens, it shows you're thinking about the user experience. Accessibility, too.
Making sure everyone can use and enjoy your design, no matter what device they're on.
Exactly. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. This next one's all about organization. How do you manage multiple projects and prioritize tasks?
Ah, the eternal juggling act. Art directors are always wearing a million hats, right?
It's true. So you want to convince them you can handle the chaos, stay on top of everything.
So how do you do that? Spill your secrets.
System, my friend. System. Talk about the tools you use. Trello, Asana, even just a good old to-do list.
Whatever works for you. And explain your process for prioritizing.
Right. Maybe you use the Eisenhower matrix, sorting tasks by urgency and importance.
Love that matrix. And the guide recommends using the STAR method here. Tell a specific story about a time you successfully juggled a bunch of projects at once.
Makes it more engaging, memorable too. They'll be hooked.
Exactly. Stories stick with people. And be ready for the curveball. Yeah. How do you deal with unexpected delays or changes in project scope? Because, let's be honest.
It's going to happen. Every
Yeah.
project has its hiccups.
Exactly. So staying calm, flexible, showing you can adapt and still deliver top-notch work, that's key.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, ready for question number 6. This one really puts your problem-solving skills to the test. Can you give an example of a time you had to solve a complex design problem?
This is your time to shine as a creative thinker.
Walk them through the problem, how you analyzed it, explored different solutions, and ultimately, how you cracked the code and came up with that winning design.
Remember, details are your friends here. Don't just say, it was tough, but I figured it out.
Nope, give them the nitty-gritty. What were the specific hurdles, the
Yeah.
technical challenges? Did you have any aha moments?
Take them behind the scenes of your brain. Show them you're not afraid to roll up your sleeves and get into the weeds of a tough design challenge.
Love it. And they might ask, what did you learn from this experience, and how has it shaped your approach to design?
Another chance to show you're not just talented, you're thoughtful. You reflect on your experiences and you grow from them.
Always learning, always evolving. Okay, moving on to a question that's all about leadership. How do you keep your team motivated and inspired?
This one goes beyond your design skills. It's about creating a positive, productive work environment.
Because a good art director doesn't just create visuals, they create culture.
Precisely. They want to see if you can inspire your team, empower them to do their best work, even when things get tough.
So it's not about being the boss, it's about being a mentor, a guide.
Exactly. Talk about how you foster open communication, how you encourage feedback, recognize individual strengths, celebrate successes, creating that space where everyone feels valued and inspired.
And don't be surprised if they ask, can you tell me about a time you had to motivate a team member who was struggling?
It's a classic, and it's a great opportunity to share a story that shows your empathy, your ability to support your team.
When you helped someone overcome a challenge, maybe regain their creative spark.
Exactly. Okay, ready for a question that feels like a pop quiz.
Hit me with it. I'm ready for anything.
All right, here we go. Tell me about a time you had to present a design concept to a client.
Ah, the art of the pitch.
It's all about communication and persuasion. Being able to explain your design choices clearly and convincingly.
You got to sell the vision, right?
You got it. And the key is knowing your audience. What are their needs, their preferences? How much do they understand about design?
You don't want to blind them with science if they're not design savvy.
Right. And visuals are your best friend here. Sketches, mock-ups, prototypes, anything to bring your concept to life.
The interview guide actually recommends creating a narrative arc for your presentation.
Whoa, I love that.
Highlight the problem, the solution, the benefits of your approach.
Like you're telling a story, take them on a journey.
And don't forget to be prepared for questions. Anticipate their concerns. Have thoughtful answers ready.
Because a great presentation isn't just you talking at them, it's a dialogue.
A conversation.
Exactly. And speaking of dialogue, they might ask, how did you handle pushback from the client? How did you win them over?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. It's a chance to show off your negotiation skills, your ability to persuade.
Exactly. Have a story ready where you successfully navigated a tough client interaction.
Turn that frown upside down. All right, ready to tackle another technical question?
Hit me.
Okay, here it is. Describe your experience working with different design software and technologies. Sounds simple enough, right?
It does, but it's more than just listing off software names.
It's about showing you're adaptable, a quick learner, comfortable embracing new tools as the design world evolves.
Which it does constantly.
So instead of just saying, I know Photoshop,
Wow.
talk about how you've used it on specific projects.
Right. What challenges did you solve using that software? What impact did it have on your work? And don't be afraid to mention any new technologies you're excited about. AI-powered tools, VR, anything cutting edge.
Showing that curiosity, that eagerness to learn new things, that's gold.
And they might ask, what's a new design software or technology you're currently learning and why?
Perfect chance to connect those technical skills to your personal growth as a designer. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, but I have a feeling there are a few more questions up our sleeve.
Oh, you know there are. Let's see what else we can dig up.
All right, this one's a classic. How do you balance creativity with practicality in your design works?
Ugh, the age-old struggle. We want to push those creative boundaries, make something beautiful and functional.
It's like being a dreamer with a spreadsheet.
Haha, exactly. And the secret sauce here, communication. Talk to your clients, your stakeholders, early and often. Share your vision, but be upfront about any limitations.
The guide suggests a really collaborative approach.
I like that.
Brainstorm with the client, present multiple design concepts, get their feedback throughout the process.
Make sure everyone's on the same page from the get-go.
And don't be afraid to push back a little if a client's request is going to compromise the design or the user experience.
Right. It's about finding creative solutions, not just saying yes to everything.
And that's where your experience and expertise come in. You got to be able to justify your design choices, explain your reasoning, and persuade them that your vision is the best way forward.
Exactly. They might ask, can you give me an example of a time you had to compromise on a creative idea because of practical constraints? How did you handle it?
Another chance to show you can adapt, be flexible, and still come up with a great solution, even when there are limitations.
And it shows you can handle those tricky client conversations maturely. All right, ready for something a bit more lighthearted?
Bring on the fun.
Okay, here it is. Where do you find inspiration for your design work? This is your chance to share what gets your creative juices flowing.
Let that personality shine.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong answer here, but they're looking for someone who's curious, always seeking out new experiences, finding inspiration everywhere.
So maybe avoid the whole Pinterest is my muse thing.
Probably a good idea. Try to show a wider range of influences. Art, music, fashion, film, travel, nature, whatever lights you up.
Be specific. Mention artists you love, books that inspire you, even just everyday moments that spark an idea.
Show them you're not just passively consuming, you're actively engaging with the world, looking for beauty and meaning in unexpected places.
That's what makes a great designer, right? Someone who's always observing, absorbing, translating those experiences into their work.
Couldn't agree more. And be ready for them to ask, how do you translate those inspirations into your designs? Can you give me an example?
That's the magic part, right? Connecting the dots between that spark of inspiration and a finished design.
Exactly. All right, one last question before we move on. Ready?
Hit me.
What are some emerging design trends or technologies that you're excited about, and why?
This one's all about looking ahead, showing you're a forward thinker, always learning and growing.
The design world never stands still, so you got to stay ahead of the curve. So do your homework. What are the hot topics in the industry? Are there any conferences you're following? New tools you're experimenting with?
And don't just throw out buzzwords like AI and VR. Talk about how those technologies are actually being used in innovative ways.
Show them you're not just aware of the trends, you're thinking critically about their impact on design.
They might even ask, how do you think these trends will affect your role as an art director?
Great question. It lets you connect those trends to your own professional development. Shows you're thinking ahead, planning for the future.
Okay, I think we've grilled you enough on those interview questions. But before you walk into that interview, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The art director career path.
The RoleCatcher Career Guide outlines the typical progression. You start as a junior art director and then, well, the sky's the limit.
So we've really explored those interview questions, got into the nitty-gritty of what they're looking for. But let's shift gears a bit. And before you actually step into that interview room, take a peek at what awaits you on the other side, the art director career path itself.
Yeah, it's good to have that big picture in mind. And the RoleCatcher Career Guide does a great job outlining that typical progression.
Yeah, they start with like junior art director and then map it out all the way up to, creative director or even chief creative officer.
It's pretty inspiring to see how much room there is to grow in this field.
It is. And while the guide lays out a general framework, it also makes it clear that there's no one-size-fits-all path.
That's one of the things I love about this field. You can really forge your own path.
Totally. Some art directors might get super specialized in a certain industry, like maybe they become the go-to person for gaming or advertising, while others might lean more into leadership roles, maybe even start their own agencies down the line.
So many possibilities. But one thing the guide really emphasizes, no matter what path you choose, is the importance of continuous learning.
Because the learning never stops, right?
Never. Whether it's taking online courses, going to workshops, finding a mentor, or just staying on top of the latest trends, you got to be a lifelong learner in this field.
Because this industry moves so fast, you got to be ready to adapt and embrace those new ideas and technologies. Speaking of which, remember how we talked about RoleCatcher's AI being able to help you tailor your application and even get feedback on your answers?
Oh yeah, that's a game changer. Especially now, when so many companies are using algorithms to make those initial decisions, RoleCatcher can help you stand out from the crowd.
I mean, it's kind of like having a secret weapon, right? It helps you translate your creative genius into a language those systems can understand?
Exactly. It's like the perfect blend of creativity and strategy, which, when you think about it, is kind of what being an art director is all about.
So true. But let's shift gears for a second. Imagine you're sitting across from the hiring manager and they ask, what kind of company culture would best support your creative vision? What would you say?
Ooh, that's a good one. It's like we're giving you the power to design your ideal work environment.
Exactly. So really think about what makes you tick as a creative person. Do you thrive in a collaborative environment? Lots of brainstorming, bouncing ideas off each other? Or do you need a little more space for individual thinking before you bring ideas to the table?
Maybe you love that fast-paced, always-on kind of energy, or maybe you need a bit more structure and calm to get into your creative flow. Whatever it is, this is your chance to be honest about what you need to do your best work.
It's also a chance to subtly signal your values,
Right.
right? Like, is a good work-life balance super important to you? Do you value open communication and transparency? Think about what kind of company culture aligns with those values.
It shows them that you're not just thinking about what the company can do for you, but what you can bring to the table, how you can contribute to their culture.
It's a two-way street, right? And it shows you're thinking like a leader, not just someone looking for a job.
Exactly.
Right. I think we've armed you with a pretty solid toolkit to walk into that interview feeling confident and ready to rock it.
I think so too. Just remember, the art director role is so much more than just making things look pretty. It's about being a creative strategist, a problem solver, a communicator, a leader.
It's a challenging role, for sure, but the rewards are huge, especially in those booming industries like gaming. And hey, don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI. It can really give you a leg up in this competitive job market. So practice those interview questions, think about the stories you want to tell, and most importantly, be yourself. Let your passion shine through.
Because that's what will make you stand out. You got this. Go out there and ace that interview. We're rooting for you.
And until next time, keep diving deep